Okay, go on to one.
Councilman O'Flaherty.
Present.
Councilman Castillo.
Here.
Councilman Fazio.
Present.
And Supervisor DePuy.
Present. Thank you. Yes, Joe was going to be absent. I forgot. Okay, at this time, we have no public hearing. I would like to make a motion to accept the minutes, or excuse me, not to read the minutes for the meeting for January 2nd. So that's a motion not to read the minutes.
Second that.
Okay, we have a motion with a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So carried. I would like to make a motion that we accept the minutes for the January 2nd meeting.
I will second that.
We have a motion with a second to accept the January 2nd meeting, or minutes. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So carried. Okay, we have additions. I am going to add an executive session, and at the end, and that will be for personnel issues. I would also like to definitely thank members of our Plattekill Police Department for the life-saving efforts this past week for a hunting incident. Extremely admirable, and the training that they have definitely takes us far in advance, which is fantastic. So Officer Cusack, as well as Detective Walpert, and the rest of the department involved, I would like to thank them personally. Okay, at this time, I will open the floor for public input. I'll make a motion to open it up at 7:03 p.m.
Second.
With a second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? So carried. Okay, folks, your chance to ask questions. Any questions, comments? Yes, sir.
I'd like to, a couple of weeks ago, there was issues brought up about Liberty View Farms.
Yes.
And I wondered if at what point the board will take up that issue, because I understand the ZBA brought it back to you guys to make a decision.
To clarify that, the recommendation was to send it back to the board. It's up to the applicant to follow up on that. So right now, as we stand, they haven't furthered any kind of application for the board to review it. So until that happens, and I anticipate it probably will, I believe they have until the end of February.
If the applicant fills out a request to appear in front of you?
I would be lying if I told you exactly how that happens, but I do believe they have to make a formal request. The ZBA made the recommendations, they voted, made the recommendations, and the applicant, it's their obligation to follow those recommendations.
Now, should they miss that deadline, what happens then?
I believe they have an opportunity to completely file as a new site plan, complete new site plan.
Starting from scratch?
Basically from scratch, I believe.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Right. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Just wanted to remind everyone of the Veterans Committee meeting tomorrow night, right here, 7 o'clock.
Hey, all are welcome, correct?
All are welcome.
All right. Appreciate that. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
I missed the meeting on the 30th of December, and I haven't finished reading. What actually happened about the ATVs?
About the ATVs?
Yeah.
We put it on hold, and the chief of police is going to explore the opportunity to file for grants.
Oh.
And we're still going to look at all the aspects of that. There was a lot of moving parts to that request. It wasn't only just the ATVs and the trailer to house them, but it also included lighting, insurance, PPE, other equipment that goes along with that, and justification for need. So we were looking for other opportunities for grants to actually purchase all that stuff. All right?
It says they gave you a copy of a topographic map of the town.
Yes. What they try to do is to lay out how geographically the town is mountainous and hills and hard to reach by foot, and they would definitely assist big time in doing police work.
Does this lady have a copy of the map, or could I borrow it to get a copy made?
You know what? You have a copy of it?
In my office, I have.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, that would be great. You could also go on the Ulster County Parcel Viewer and get the topographical map. And I'm pretty sure there's an opportunity to print one off of there as well. But you can grab that.
I know
one
it
too.
shows the parcels. I don't think it shows the contour lines. As far as I know.
For some reason, I thought it did. But
Well, maybe it does.
yeah, but nonetheless, it's available. You're more than welcome to it. All right?
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, not seeing anyone else. I will make a motion to close public input at 7:08 p.m.
I will second that
We
motion.
have a motion on the floor with a second. Take your pick, Sarah. And all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Okay, monthly reports. I will run through the monthly reports. I always like to read them and kind of get a flair on what's going on in town. I won't read them extensively, but Town of Plattekill Police Department, December 2024 monthly report. Calls for service, 625. Traffic stops, 142. Tickets issued, 54. Motor vehicle accidents, 16. Motor vehicle accidents with injuries, 1. Emergency medical calls, 16. Property checks, 235. Community-oriented policing projects, 50. Misdemeanor arrest, 3. Violation to arrest, 2. Psychiatric arrest, 5. The rest of the reports is available on the back table or in the town clerk's office if you so desire to read further. Monthly report for the building department. This is to the supervisor and town board from Greg Kermans, and this is the December report. Here's a list of the building department monthly reports for December 2024. Permits that were issued were 34. Violations were 5. Violations closed were 0. All inspections, this includes complaints, buildings, violations, fire and safety, C of O's, C of C's, 114. 1 complaint. Complaints closed, 0. Complaints to violations, 1. Municipal searches, 8. CC and C of O's, 23. Stormwater outfall inspections, 0. County tax inspections, 0. And these numbers do not include returning phone calls to residents coming in for assistance with codes, building permits, zoning, and subdivision issues. I will say that as of Monday, the 13th, this past Monday, we do have an additional building inspector that took Mr. Diller's place, and that is William Johowski. And Bill is very well versed and very well educated, and look forward to a good future with that man. Monthly report for the assessor's office. The assessor's office for the month of December. We have 9 transfers, 0 foreclosures, 4 arm's length sales, 0 vacant, 3 residential, 0 commercial, and 1 mobile home. Okay, for the month of December, the average sale price was $377,500. Town of Plattekill Dog Control. We have received a total of 13 calls this month, including 0 calls for service from the state police, Plattekill Police, and Ulster. I kind of all confused with the way you wrote it out here. But it says we received 13 calls and for the month. And I'm not sure who they came from by the way that he wrote this out, but he responded to 4 active complaints and or cases which are now closed and resolved. We currently have 2 open cases or complaints. Case number 1. Case number 1 is related to a dog bite in a country club, subject to reimbursement for the town for expenses of $305, no cents, and there was warrants issued for that collection of those fees. Case number 2, related to an impound fee of $368, no cents, due to the town for a dog running at large, and again, warrants issued. We impounded 0 stray dogs for the month. 0 appearance tickets were issued for the month. There was also 1 dog bite reported this month, a UPS worker that had been bitten by a dog delivering a package on Freetown Highway. We have 0 dangerous dog cases under investigation at this time, and temperatures are expected to be below freezing beginning January 4th and expected to stay between 10 and 30 degrees for the majority of January. Please keep your dogs inside as much as possible. Excuse me. These temperatures and wind can make it very difficult for your pets to keep warm. Thank you and have a happy new year. End of report. I'll follow up on that. Okay, this is Town of Plattekill Building and Grounds. Town of Plattekill Building and Grounds from Robert Weger, 12/30/2024, Building and Grounds Department. This is December Report 2024. The Town Hall, they removed recyclables, replaced door sweep and lubricated lock, restock water from garage, perform pest control, shut down or shut down outdoor water supply and cap water line. Put hose and reel in storage. Assembled a new chair. Transfer station. They replaced a magnetic roller bolt. Furnace maintenance. Melted and lubed the frozen lock. Garage, fall furnace, and building maintenance, perform pest control, installed a 30 amp outlet for hot pressure washer, fixed file cabinet at the park, weekly garbage removal, repaired flagpole light, and prep for tree lighting. Police, repaired outlet and installed power strip, installed the fire extinguisher on the wall. Okay, that is all that I have in reports. Next, we have old business. I do not have anything under old business, but we will move right into new business. Does anybody else have anything or any kind of comments for old business? Questions? Concerns?
I guess maybe a whole business. The only thing I would say, not really business, but the new building inspector is going to be part of the group for the battery storage lot. So we have the group back together.
That would be the committee, correct?
Yes.
Great, thank you. Okay, next we have a data breach policy. So we received this instructions here that we need a policy for notification for data breach. And our file number is going to be 1177-021. And it basically, it's pretty extensive here. And I just want to take a quick look through and see if there's highlights that I could pick out for the group. Okay, have you guys had a chance to take a look at this and look this over?
No.
Okay, this is something, I'll tell you right off the bat, this is something that we need to adapt for data breach. That's one of the things that when we were going through the audit, that they are very adamant about, and rightfully so, that we look at our computer systems, our IT networks, making sure that they're secure. And this is basically a policy that stipulates or lays out the guidelines to what we should be achieving. By adopting this, following it, and adhering to it, should make all of our IT processes, computers, and what have you more secure. So what I would like you to do is I would like you to read this and go through it pretty tight here and try to comprehend. Ask me any questions. Stop in. We will go over together, and by next meeting we should be adopting some sort of a data breach policy. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I will tell you this. I'm going to read the first paragraph, and that'll give you kind of a little idea. So it's pursuant to the state technology law, and this is Town Law 208 and parentheses 10. All municipalities in New York State must adopt a notification policy for when there has been or is reasonably believed to have been a breach of the security of the municipality system that holds an individual's private information. This statute applies to computerized data that includes private data that is owned or licensed by the municipality. It also applies to any computerized data that includes private data that is maintained by the municipality. So a close here is attaches a draft policy for your review. If satisfactory, the policy should be adopted by a resolution of the board. So it behooves us all to make sure that we learn and educate ourselves in this.
I don't have that.
If you don't have this, if any of you do not have this, I will make sure that you get it.
Yeah.
It's probably still sitting in the box, but I'll make sure you get it. All right. So this is to make you aware that this is something that we have to seriously look at, and probably over the next meeting or two, we'll probably adopt some sort of a policy. Attached is going to be a template. I'll make sure you guys have copies before you leave the building tonight. Okay. Next is your standard workday resolution. So basically what this is I'm going to make a motion. I'm going to make a motion that's very simple. It's the sheet with that short paragraph onto it. And elected officials are required to fill this out. I believe it's once every 8 years. And what this is this is in regards to the retirement system. And what it is basically, it's a sheet that basically you're documenting your hours and what you're doing, kind of to give you an idea of what the hours of the week would be. So it's called the New York State Retirement Workday Resolution. The town board has to reestablish the workday hours for various positions for the New York State retirement system. I'll make a motion to adopt the standard workdays and reporting resolution for elected officials. This resolution is sent to New York State Retirement System and kept on file in the town clerk's office to be used for calculating retirement credit. A copy of this completed resolution will be attached to these minutes, and that's the form that you have on the back. So we have a motion on the floor to adopt the workday resolution by New York State Retirement with a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So carried. And I have to apologize because I should have asked if there was any questions or comments or anything from the board. All good?
Well, this is just so they keep track
Yeah, it's
of what they get when they retire.
Yep. And basically, it documents their time. Not all elected officials do 40 hours. Some do more. Some do less. It depends on, that's what you're doing. You're just documenting your hours. But that's what that is in a nutshell. Okay. So, the next Plattekill Day for 2025. So the date for Plattekill Day, I'd like to set that date for Plattekill Day for September 20th with a rain date on the 21st. And I will make that as a motion. That's usually the weekend that we utilize anyway, but I'll still do that as a motion. I'll make a motion to set the date for Plattekill Day September 20th with a rain date with the 21st, 2025.
Second.
Have a motion on the floor with a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So carried.
Thank you. The time on that?
All day.
Is it 11 to 5 kind of thing?
No, I believe what we're going to do, Sarah, you guys are going to start setting up at 8 o'clock in the morning?
What did we say?
5.
10 to 5? 10 to 5.
10 to 5 will be the
Yeah.
actual Plattekill Day, and then they'll start setting up earlier that day. I would also like to look, the next on the list would be the fireworks or the red, white, and blue celebration as we know it. So I would like to make a motion that we set that date as well for July 12th with a rain date of July 13th. So I'll make that as a motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor with a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So carried. Next, we have a letter here from our town clerk. It says to the board, last week, Councilman Fazio and I met with the American Red Cross. We are interested in hosting a blood drive at the town hall. Every day in the United States, approximately 36,000 units of red blood cells are needed. That means nearly every 2 seconds, someone needs blood. American Red Cross will be self-sufficient in running the blood drive. We supply 4 tables, chairs, and assist in getting the word out as far as recruitment. They will be bringing in everything else that is needed to make the drive successful, including the refreshments for after the donation. I am hoping to recruit a few volunteers to make the day successful. The date I am hoping to secure at the town hall would be Saturday, March 15th, 2025. Thank you, Sarah Nelson. Okay. Any questions on that?
No, it's excellent.
Okay. And I'll make a motion that we go ahead and thank Sarah for her efforts there to make that happen on March 15th.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor with a second. All in favor? Aye.
How do we advertise or how do we get this information out? The blood drive.
Sarah, I believe,
I'm going to make flyers,
and also fire departments.
and I'm going to ask the fire departments and the library to share. And
Do we have to guarantee them any amount of time or appointments at all?
it's from 9 to 1.
And I would like 22 people to be a success, correct?
That's what I was
That's our
asking.
goal, 22 people.
Yes, okay. So
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
No,
But we will accept that.
Get the list out.
Almost 22 right here. What's that?
You can give twice. You got 2 arms. Give twice.
get a good rush from it anyway.
So it's a very good thing. So all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Thank you. That is a great thing. Thank you, Sarah. Okay, so at this time we are going to, or I am going to, I'd like to make a reappointment to the Board of Assessment and Review. And the individual that is up that requests his desire to be reappointed would be Joseph Egan. So I would like to make a motion to reappoint Joseph Egan to the Board of Assessment and Review.
I will second that.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor with a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So carried. Now, the next one's going to take a little bit more time. So, the next on the agenda is letter from Louis Braun of the Camp Sunset Road property. So, early to late fall last year, there was a lot of discussion about this particular piece of property as well as others in the vicinity, and it was one of the properties that was mentioned for a countywide landfill. So at the time, they were pretty much targeting Plattekill with two different parcels, actually more than two, but two different areas of our community, and we started looking at trying to get the resolutions to not let or allow the folks to bring in the countywide landfill into our community. We've already been hit with two major spill areas. One was the Hertel landfill. The other one was the Sabin Metal Corporation. Sabin Metal Corporation, fortunately, has been cleaned up, but Hertel still exists. And at the time, one of the guys that was pretty active in it was active at that time in opposition of it was Mr. Braun. So Jerry, if I may say his first name, it's easier than pronouncing his last name, but Jerry had approached myself, Mr. Fazio, and was looking into possibly the opportunity to sell that property up on Camp Sunset, approximately 129 acres, to the town. Obviously, the town wasn't in the position to purchase a piece of property, but appreciated that the property was going to be made available. And his desire was to make the property forever wild and dedicate it in such a way that it would become an additional park space or open space, if you will. At the time, we did hike the property with Mr. Braun and looked at it. I reached out to the Walkill Valley Land Trust, the Open Space Institute, the DEC, several different organizations from the DEC, the Hudson River Keepers, and there was several other, the town of Newburgh, and a couple of other organizations. And the desire was to possibly have them pick it up with the same idea to keep that land forever wild and basically park. And that way the community could use it and utilize it and move forward. At the time, the approximate cost was extremely high, and there was different numbers that were batted around, but there was nothing that was actually nailed down to say a specific price. But we never let the project go, and Mr. Braun didn't let us, fortunately, and he kept in touch with me over the summer, and he has some other ideas, and he has sent a letter to the board. So I would like to read the letter. It's quite an extensive letter, but it kind of gives a basis to what he would like to do or the possibilities of what could be done with that property. So I will tell you, first off, his intentions are to subdivide, I believe, 4 different portions of the property and utilize that for himself and his own personal endeavors, and the rest of it, the remaining portion of the property, what he would like to do is either sell to a conservatory kind of a group or possibly donate the rest of it to the town. So I started looking at that possibility, and this, again, we're at the infancy stages of this, but of course, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. There's no such thing as a free lunch. So that being said, I did express that I would look with the blessing of the board, and probably the board would hopefully have the same idea, that if we ever did do something where the property was going to be donated to the town, rather than have the liability and the insurance and everything else, that we would try to do something with the conservatory group. The Walkill River Land Trust or the Open Space Institute or some other organization that would actually take that property and foster that property and absorb the responsibility, but yet our community could still, utilize the property as a park and what have you. But I'll read the letter, and then he did give me some maps, and I will show you what he had in mind. So it says, Town Board of the Town of Plattekill, New York, 1915, State Route 55, Modena, New York. The following describes property located in Plattekill, New York, owned by undersigned, and our desire to convey substantial portions, therefore maintaining much of the natural forestry as parkland for the use of Plattekill residents. Property divisions. Louis J. Braun and Joanne M. Braun own approximately 129 acres of land, bounded by the Plattekill-Ardonia Road on its east, is Rabbit Run Road, bounded on its west, and Camp Sunset on the southern border of the spillway of the Black Creek, bounding Lake Sunset and running north through the properties and beyond to end in the waters of the Hudson River. From that point, Camp Sunset Road runs to the end, through such property until it reaches Plattekill-Ardonia Road. The northern boundary of such property is owned by the Brauns, begins west of Rabbit Run Road and continues in a straight line for over 3,000 feet, and then veers north until it reaches Plattekill-Ardonia Road over 2,250 feet from Camp Sunset Road. The southern boundary line begins 900 feet from the corner of Camp Sunset Road and Plattekill-Ardonia Road south approximately 850 feet, and it says curving east and covering more than 56 acres south of Camp Sunset Road and terminating approximately midpoint dividing Lake Sunset approximately in half, moving south. It is our hope and intention to sell the property for approximately $6,000 an acre to an organization which will preserve the forestry and the animal sanctuary consisting of over 85% of such property, and to be used for the citizens of the town of Plattekill for hiking, sledding, and skiing. It is our purpose to maintain the forestry primarily, and in so doing, giving the animals therefore a safe habitat free from developers, hunters, solar farm, and all else which is designed to alter that which exists today. If we cannot find a purchaser who is willing to buy our property under such conditions, we have alternative plans which will allow us to reach our goals of providing us and our children and grandchildren what we want to have going forward, and give the citizens of the town of Plattekill the use of a park of such beautiful land and the forest and animals to flourish. We would then consider the following. So the following would be taking about 12 acres on the northwest corner of the property, beginning on the corner of Rabbit Run Road and Camp Sunset Road, taking 12 acres bordering the south side of Camp Sunset Road, bordering such road, beginning 100 feet from Plattekill-Ardonia Road and ending well before the beginning of Lake Sunset, taking an additional 12-acre parcel on the north side of the road, measuring 2,615 feet, and 6-acre parcel on the southernmost part of the property on the Plattekill-Ardonia Road. Such 12-acre parcels and the 6-acre parcel will be sold to builders of homes. The rest of the property in back of the 12-acre lots on both sides of Camp Sunset would be donated to the town of Plattekill for a conservatory, keeping the property and the animal habitat, therefore, as specified above. Next paragraph, it goes down and it's titled Water. The Browns own that portion of the lake, beginning at the spillway, where the Black Creek spills into the property from Lake Sunset and travels north through Plattekill until spilling into the Hudson River. That portion of the Lake Sunset east of the vertical line beginning at the south spillway through the lake will also be donated as part of the park to be used by the town of Plattekill citizens. It should be noted that the Black Creek enters our property from its northern boundary and travels somewhat southeast until it crosses under Camp Sunset Road into a Lake Sunset about 100 feet from the spillway. When Black Creek enters our property from the north, it spills freely onto the land, covering significant acreage, and should be restricted on its path to Lake Sunset by about 150 foot of piping before reaching its natural path, moving straight south to the Camp Sunset Road and Lake Sunset. It is our intention to dedicate that portion of our property north of Camp Sunset Road above the acreage used for home building lots to an organization which will preserve the forestry and animal sanctuary and to be used for the citizens of Plattekill for hiking, sledding, and skiing. Again, it is our purpose to maintain the forestry primarily, and in so doing, giving the animals therein a safe habitat free from developers' hunter solar farms and all else that is designed to alter what exists today. Again, is our wish to an intention, again, that we find a conservatory or a conservation organization for the remaining property to rear of the lots of the homes to be constructed, but that it is to be most of such property will be parks for the town of Plattekill citizens, forests maintained and animals protected to flourish therein. It should be noted that once land is sold on Camp Sunset Road, north and south, the houses built herein, such homeowners would be entitled to police and fire protection, as all homeowners in the town of Plattekill are. Such protections would include protection against hunters in the vicinity of such new homes, but the cost therein would be more than offset by the increased taxes levied on such new homes. So even if no conservation organization can be found to undertake the responsibility of maintaining the lands donated, the cost therefore would be more than covered by the taxes levied by respect to the such new homes. And it says fees and future. Our ask is for the town of Plattekill, its town board and planning board, to forego all fees associated with the development of the lots specifically above and the new road specification on map 12, on the map of the 12 acres on the north corner, or northwestern corner, I should say, of the property, and perhaps one on a strip of land adjacent to the lake, to the park, so the to park cars, Plattekill residents who wish to use the park described above. We reserve the right to create home building lots adjacent to Camp Sunset Road, north of the Lake Sunset, in the areas where Black Creek enters Lake Sunset and is sent north through the spillway back on our property. Once again, property described herein is put up for sale. Paintball will end, and there will be no playing paintball anywhere on the property. 43 years was a good run. It's time to turn the page. So, in a nutshell, I will show you guys the map on what he said. I know that how that's written, it's all over the place, but any questions on that?
Do they have developer in Lamine?
No.
Purchase?
To the best of my knowledge, right now, this is all conceptual, and the idea originally was for Mr. Braun and his wife to sell the property to the town to keep it forever wild, based on a lot of communities buying open space and trying to lock it up and keep it open space. I had extensive conversations with him back when we very first started talking about this, and my concern was we have the largest park in Ulster County, I believe, and the money that we have, I thought would be better spent in the park that we already have. But it makes sense to me that we preserve something like this, since it's an environmentally insensitive area. That's actually the headwaters of Black Creek, where this piece of property lies. Those headwaters flow, and it's an estuary to the Hudson River. So there's definitely value to making that forever wild over there. I will tell you this, that on the easterly portion of this property, and approximately half of the lake that's up there, is owned by that easterly property. That is the property that they just proposed in the past about the battery storage. Yeah. So, again, when you start looking at that property and how environmentally sensitive it is, and how large of a parcel of property that you would need to actually establish some sort of a countywide landfill, if you will, they probably would have had to take that property as well. I think that's what their intentions were. And, regardless of whether they're talking about putting that landfill someplace else now, they have every opportunity to come back and revisit. I will tell you that I asked them to pass not only a resolution but a motion in the Ulster County Resource Recovery Agency saying that they would take Plattekill and all properties in Plattekill completely off the list of desired properties to build something, and they refused to do that. They held firm with that. So right now they're tasked with an incredibly hard project themselves, but I think that Plattekill has paid its dues in the past, and I do not believe we need any even possibility of any kind of a landfill in our community ever again. And primarily, it is an opportunity to possibly get this property for nothing. The cost to us, as described in that letter, and again, it's in the infancy stages, and there's a lot of things turning on that, before we could ever come to a conclusion. But the desire of the owner of the property is to have an agreement. If we were going to achieve approximately 87 acres of property on both sides of that road and half of that lake, being that property, then we would forego the subdivision fees. And how he would recoup and make it beneficial for him is he would subdivide those properties out.
Oh, I get that. He's looking to sell off the dirt to have the parcels essentially pay for the property.
Yep.
And then have the town concede the fees in lieu of tax revenue, which makes sense. But who's going to buy the dirt? Who's going to buy the properties?
Well, the 12 acres, when he subdivides the 12 acres, I just put kind of to get an idea so you can actually physically look at it. In a minute, I'll ask you to step up and take a look at it. But what he is looking to do is he's looking to take those properties out and then donate the rest of the property.
Yeah.
He is going to retain ownership of the 12 acres, and then he is going to develop that or sell it to somebody who has a desire to develop it.
Yeah, that would be
whether it be one home or whatever the zoning, is allowed up there. I don't know if 12 acres sounds like 4 lots. I don't know what that is. I don't know what the geography is up there. I don't know what the desire is. I don't know if somebody.
There's a lot of semantics.
Yeah. So in looking at it, I'm just thinking, and I'm not saying it is, I'm saying, is it an opportunity for the town to somehow acquire 87 acres at just the expense of allowing the foregoing of the fees of subdividing that out? And again, do we want that 87 acres? And to me, the best possible case scenario is that some conservatory or organization actually does that and takes that over, and then we still benefit by our residents being able to utilize that property if he wants them to.
Right.
Well, the way I look at it when I discuss it with you is that if you keep those properties to be developed, it's less likely that Ulster County could come back and look at that because there'll be houses around it, and they won't put a battery storage to or anything else.
Well, that is
or transfer station, whatever they want to do.
That is a benefit.
Because if you put houses there, boy, and this water source goes to Newburgh, goes to the Hudson Valley, and this way it protects it more by having residents there.
Yeah, and again, this is conceptual until I see.
Yes, what if that
things written down.
happens? Say the town takes it, okay? He gives it to the town. As far as his taxes that he pays to the school in the town, is there an amount on that? I'm sure, I know there's an amount.
As far as like selling it for value or something?
No, I'm saying if the town takes it, it's coming off the tax rolls,
You're talking
correct?
about the lost revenue.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, there is numbers. You can't lie. Numbers are numbers. So I'm going to say I don't know. Again, until I have everything written down.
Right, we don't know the numbers.
I don't know what the numbers are, but I would have to imagine that Mr. Braun's owned this property, I believe, since 1982. And I would have to imagine that for the 112 acres, I don't know what the number is, but I'm sure it's not going to be as big a number as if it was sold 2 years ago or 5 years ago. You know, the way that they value land and increase and decrease and what have you, it changes. I don't know what the tax is. He's an elder gentleman. I don't know if he's claiming deductions onto it. I don't know what the taxes are. All of that stuff, to me, has to be written down and has to be listed so we can look at it.
Right, all part of the
And
package.
see exactly what it is. So this, to me, you know, he's been talking about it, and I said, look, I need something I can look at. I'm a visual guy. I can't... You can tell me something, but if I can't see it, and if I can't fall back on this is what is said, then to me there's no value. So he did take the step to drop the maps off. He sent the letter, and I told him he offered to come here tonight, and I thought that there was more value to show the board, look at it, and then invite him the next time and say, okay, this is something for us to chew on, to say, okay, what are we looking at here? What are the
I mean,
possibilities?
the pros on the surface.
Yeah.
The pros on the surface are, if you go back to the report, the criteria for selecting a parcel was a certain acreage. So he's smart by subdividing, because then that also removes the quantifying parcel to be considered. So it's pretty smart from that aspect.
And he's looking at it at both sides of the road.
But again, it's just the overall footprint of what they would need to have for a lifespan for, let's just say, a landfill. But the other side of it is what James is bringing up, is the revenues, which will very likely be offset by the new home construction by some X number, X factor. But then conversely is if we're in charge of maintaining or protecting the property, what does that constitute? What does that look like?
As far as, be more specific.
The remaining,
What is-
he's gifting over the 86 acres.
87 acres.
87 acres. What is our responsibility as a town?
So that's where I said earlier, I said there's no such thing as a free lunch.
Right,
So
so-
even though it's given to us, that's one fact that portion will be taken off the tax roll. So that to me is one side of the scale. The next side of the scale, I'll play devil's advocate with the whole thing. If we own that 87 acres, we're going to have to put eyes onto it. If we put eyes onto it, that comes at a cost.
That's what I'm saying.
We're going to have to insure it. That comes at a cost. We're going to have to maintain it to some level. That comes at a cost.
Right.
So there is cost associated to it. So again, there's no such thing as a free lunch, but that's where I thought that it would be more advantageous when to hook up with a conservatory group like the Walker Valley Land Trust and possibly even sell the interest or convey the interest to them, where they actually hold the parcel. And what they actually do is they hold parcels and then they convert them over to the Open Space Institute, a larger conservatory, a not-for-profit.
Now, on Tea Kettle Road,
Yeah.
okay, when you go towards the end of that, before it goes through the swamp lake, whatever you want to call it, that also has a bird sanctuary that is part of that. So there's many people, many groups that you could reach out to that will want that protected land.
Yeah. The problem is that I found is everybody wants to protect it.
They got
But the
to
money
pay to protect.
Yeah, the money is not there.
Right.
That's really what the problem is. It's you know, if you have somebody who's willing to work with you, like Mr. Braun is willing to work with us, but he's also on a limited time schedule too.
Yes.
So I will tell you this: Telefarrow Farms in New Paltz. What was that? June, I think that was transferred to the Walker Valley Land Trust.
Yes.
They sold the development rights to them, so they basically have taken that over, and they're they're maintaining it, so to speak. So it's not burdensome to the town. I will tell you this, that there's a lot of towns that have passed laws in their town that, and it's a very small percentage, they might, and I think they can go up to 2%. And I don't want to do this, but a lot of towns do, and what they do is they put a tax, and it's basically a conservatory tax in the town, and they start collecting that fee. They put that into an account, and as that account increases and projects come up like this, they turn around and they look at the validity and the value of purchasing that to keep it forever wild, and then they buy it. So if that account is low and they don't have the money to purchase that property outright, they can borrow against future funds coming in. That's the way a lot of communities purchase land.
You know what you could do with that same thing?
Yeah.
With that same idea, instead of taxing the people that are already here that have lived, any new home sales, you could put that on the mortgage tax.
Yeah, there's all different ways. That's exactly
you
how
could do that on that to purchase for anyone new coming into town, because it'll be a higher sale, more revenue.
Understood.
And then versus levying it across the board. But this is all a lot of questions, but all very good questions. It's
what you're alluding to now, and what I just said about doing something like that. I'm not in favor of establishing something like that. I'm just talking about that's opportunities that other communities have done.
Right.
That's how they purchased them.
correct.
When this first was handed out, believe me, that I spent a lot of hours away from here, calling different organizations, all the ones I mentioned and more, for grant opportunities. A lot of those grant opportunities, it's great to get grants, but grants cost a lot of money to get. Not only do they cost a lot of money, time, and effort to write them, but a lot of them are only matching grants. And a lot of them are matching grants after you've already invested so much, and then they're just coming in after the fact. So the money is not there unless you have somebody who's willing to say, hey, we're going to purchase this and donate it to our town. There's no benefit to it. So right now, to me, this is strictly conceptual, and that the possibilities are there, but we need a lot more information.
What is he? I guess my question is, how much does he think by selling and developing the 4 parcels, the 4 divisions, will that amalgamate to $780K? Is that what he's?
I honestly don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't know.
Now, can you also reach out to the federal to get federal to take over?
I've reached out.
There's been a ton of phone calls made, Willie.
Plus a lot of road trips.
But I know, but this is what we're discussing here.
Yeah.
This way, there's all these possibilities.
Yeah.
I like it on the surface. It's just you got to get through the weeds.
No, there's a lot. I mean, there is a lot. Again, I want you to be aware that this is conceptual.
Yes.
I also know that the back portion of this property to the south, about 180 yards to 250 yards in different various spots, is the Quasiac Creek. Now, the Quasiac Creek, or Quasea Creek, that people, that's what I know it as, that flows south, and eventually what that does is that flows into the Chadwick Lake area, which is actually the town of Newburgh water supply. So I have reached out to the councilman down there. I have actually met with him a couple times. I've actually met with Pat Hine a couple times. He is the town of Newburgh's engineer as well, and spoken to them. And basically, my desire was I was trying to hope that they would kind of purchase the property to protect their water supply. It doesn't look like it's close enough to be conducive to do that. So we have not only do we have the Walkill Valley Land Trust, but we have a land trust that's in Orange County. The Orange County Land Trust, I've reached out to them. I have spoken to organizations from Warwick, the past supervisor at Warwick. We've had a couple meetings with him. I can't remember his name. He was here actually a couple times. And, we've looked at a lot of possibilities. And I've taken everything, and I've been adamant that I'm not committing to anything. Everything that I've done is nothing more than research. And Mr. Braun is very, very willing to to work to make the town owners of that property or somebody owners of that property so the town can utilize it. I have a lot of respect for the fact that he wants to leave his legacy in this way to the town of Plattekill. He's been a businessman here since, I believe, 1982. So, but anyway, if you want to look, I just taped on pieces of paper over top the overlays of where his intention was to take the 12 acres out of. And basically what it will show is this shows the property that's to the east of it and the actual property line that cuts down through the middle of the lake, and it gives you an idea of what the property looks like. I will tell you on this sector over here on the northeast side with the 12 acres along Rabbit Run that he wanted to divide, he gave me another piece of paper, which I think here it is here. This kind of gives you a better idea on the property that he's looking at over here on this section where the Black Creek actually would be part of the property that the town would acquire. He did not keep that Black Creek onto the property that he wanted.
You can tell there's a strategy. There's clearly a very strong
100%, yeah.
It's well thought out, but there's a lot of semantics.
Yep.
A lot.
And like I said, I mean, this to me is conceptual. It's a start, and I wanted to get the flair of the board. Is there a desire to? I don't want to steer him down the wrong road or the wrong path. Make him spend money and think that there's, something to go on, and then the night before the meeting we say no. Is there value in saying to him, Mr. Braun, put something better in writing, lay out specifically what you want, and come and give a presentation?
Yes, but my thing is I worry about the back end carrying cost of this.
Understood.
Which I love. I mean,
that's my concerns as well.
This is, you don't want to look a gift horse in the mouth, so to speak, but it's also one of those.
Yep, understood.
Dean, you had a question.
Yeah.
Did you talk to Scenic Hudson?
Who? Yes.
Because they own part of Illinois Mountain, which is in Lloyd.
Yeah, they were another one we talked to.
I think we could get them very interested.
There is some leverage with that.
We've talked to
the Black Creek.
There's not very many folks that we haven't talked to be honest with you. There's a lot of people we reached out to, a lot.
On the surface, it looks awesome because it's a lot of towns, like you alluded to, will use the transaction cost of new purchases to purchase escrow or land within their town to preserve the land, which actually inflates the values of the property because you can't develop on this land.
Yeah.
Right. So you're reducing the amount of footprint that you can use in the town, and it creates demand. So I think it's. There's a lot.
So is there value with me reaching back out to him? I'm going to talk to him tomorrow anyway. He asked me to let him know, what the outcome of the meeting is. But is there a value to me reaching out back to him and saying, look, tighten things up, put things in writing a little bit tighter, and come and give a presentation. Tell us face to face and give us something, again, we can hold on to. And eventually at one point, we are going to have to sit down and say, look, are we wasting his time? And
so we need to
opportunity someplace else.
We need to do that with his presentation, but then we have to create a list of what it will cost us to do insurance. I don't know if we're forging trails through here, all that stuff. Or is he going to? I don't know. There's a lot of.
That piece of property, believe it or not, is surprisingly open because it's all mature hardwoods. It's really never been
it's very nice.
Harvested. The lumber is pretty good there.
The thing is, if Jake assigned it over to us, and I know you said you called for the federal and all the other ones, that could be in the works for the town once it's deeded to us, and then we just continue with the homework to get to one of these organizations.
So I'll tell you
the outlook. I'm sorry, but the outlook I'm looking at is protecting the water source and trying to keep any kind of solar farm, anything that could pollute this away.
All right, so if the board desires, I will have that conversation with Mr. Braun tomorrow and let him know that if he can put something greater together or more precise together, so to speak, and come to one of our meetings and do a presentation, that would be great. And then that way we can actually ask him the questions.
Yeah.
That being said, I would also ask that the board give a serious thought to what you just said. Maybe two members of the board can get together and come up with ideas and look at those costs and see what they are.
I believe after he does the presentation, then, or before, it's up to the board to think about this, is get a hold of the planning board to make sure that they're here at a meeting to hear that presentation.
Yes.
This way,
Understood.
they have an idea of what is being asked of them.
Yeah, and I will tell you this, that Mr. Braun has asked me to meet with myself and the chairman of the planning board, and I asked him to not desire that at this point, present it to the town board to see if there's even a path or an opportunity. So that's already been discussed, and he would like to do that.
But I would like it to,
Excuse me?
No, you finish. Go ahead.
I just feel that when that comes, if it comes, to have that planning board,
Oh, 100%.
because not that they get hit with, oh, this, what is this all about? This way they have the same information that we have.
So I think for something like this, and to piggyback off what you're saying and what Steve alluded to also, I think that at some point, if Mr. Braun comes in and gives his presentation and there's enough desire, I think that a good possibility, or possibly there's value into taking two board members here, two board members from the planning board, and sitting down kind of one-on-one, so to speak, with Mr. Braun and coming back to the board as a whole and saying, look, this is the possibility, this is what we think will work, this is what we think won't work, and these are the numbers. And then that way we can actually have eyes on what's really going on.
Yeah, you're right.
Sound good?
Yeah, can't hurt anything. Talk to him and get a picture of exactly what he wants to do.
Yep.
I mean, my plan was the best that time. I says, give us land, we'll give you 2 bronze plaques. Pick your trees. He wouldn't go for it.
He didn't go.
No, he wouldn't go for it.
You had him close, but not close enough.
How about the ropes?
Yeah. So, I mean, I did walk that property with various organizations that I had reached out to, and there was a lot of excitement, but at the end of the day, the pocketbooks are very tight.
It's always
understandably so. So, there is opportunities for conservatory groups to come and pick up those properties for a very little bit of money. But, and the good thing is, the good news about something like that is they lock that up and it's not sold ever again for development down the road. And, the most important thing is they don't make property anymore.
Right, you can't create more dirt. Right.
Yeah.
Which is why.
Right, did you guys want to look at this here, or you want to stop in the office? And
No, I think it's a good. There's a lot.
I'll take a picture
James,
of it.
I seen it up
Who
close
knows
and
if it's
personal.
before?
I'll
Yeah,
take a
many
picture of
times.
it.
Okay, good. All right, so thank you very much for that. Is there any other questions on that? Okay, I will reach out to him tomorrow and ask him that, and I will ask him if he's available. I will talk to you guys individually through the next 2 weeks, and if so desired, and he can make that happen, possibly the next meeting, we'll try to get him on the agenda and do something with that. All right? Now, so we reappointed public hearing. Ron, next is going to be the proposed planning board and zoning board terms of office. So what I am going to do is I'm going to introduce the new proposed law, and I am going to set a public hearing date after I read this. And again, I apologize for reading all this stuff, but it's information that's needed to be out there. So, Town of Plattekill introductory local law, reducing terms of office to 3 years for planning board and zoning board members. And we have, be enacted, and let me get this so I can see this. Be it enacted that the Town Board of the Town of Plattekill, County of Ulster, State of New York, as follows. Section 1, legislative intent. The Town Board finds that in reducing the terms of office for Planning Board, ZBA members from 7 years to 3 years promotes the public interest in maintaining high quality and membership of the boards, and by providing additional opportunities for appointments of new qualified candidates to the board. The reduction in the term of office to 3 years authorized by the local board, by local law, shall have no effect on the current terms of current members of the boards. Section 2, subsection A of 110-72, titled Establishment of Membership, of Article 7, titled Zoning Board of Appeals, of Chapter 110, titled Zoning of Code of the Town of Plattekill, is amended by deleting the second and third sentence of said subsection A and replacing it with the following. Said board shall consist of several members having 3-year terms, including a chairperson appointed by the town board. The town board shall have authority by resolution to stagger the terms of appointment to extend terms by making initial appointments of 1 year, 2-year, 3-year terms. This authorized authority applies to terms that are expired and not filled at the time of adoption of this local law, and to current terms of existing members that will expire in the future. An appointment to a vacancy occurring prior to the expiration of the term shall be for the remainder of the unexpired term. Section 3, Article 4, titled Special Use and Site Plan Review Procedures of Chapter 10, titled Zoning of the Code of the Town of Plattekill, is amended by renumbering 110-55.1, titled Authority, to 110-55.2, and adopting a new 110-55.1, titled Planning Board Terms of Office, to read as follows. 110-55.1, Planning Board Members' Term of Office. The Town Planning Board previously established by the Town of Plattekill shall consist of 7 members having 3-year terms, including a chairperson appointed by the Town Board. The Town Board shall have the authority by resolution to stagger the terms of appointees to expire terms by making initial appointments of 1 year, 2-year, or 3-year terms. This authority applies to terms that are expired and not filled at this time of adoption of local law, and to current terms of existing members that will expire in the future. An appointment to a vacancy occurring prior to the expiration of a term shall be for the remainder of the unexpired term. Section 4, Servability. If any clause, sentence, paragraph, subdivision, or part of this local law or application, therefore to any individual, firm, or corporation of circumstance, shall be held by any court of competent jurisdiction to be invalid or unconstitutional, such order or judgment shall not affect, impair, or invalidate the remainder of the local law, but shall be confined in its operation to the clause, sentence, paragraph, subdivision, or part of this local law, or in its application to the individual, firm, or corporation or circumstance directly involved in the controversy in which such order or judgment shall be rendered. Section 5, Supersession. To the extent that any provisions of the state town law, including Section 267 and 271, therefore, or any provisions of the town code or town board resolution are inconsistent with this local law, such provisions are hereby superseded. Section 6, effective date. This local law shall take effect immediately upon filing with the Secretary of State. And that would be the law. Questions?
Shortening the terms?
Shortening the terms, yes.
Yeah.
Any questions or concerns? Or
No questions.
okay, Mr. Fazio?
No, I think it could only help.
Yeah,
Sometimes
okay.
I think people get a little stale on this again.
Okay, so at this time, what I would like to do is I would like to make a motion to set a public hearing date and I will make that motion for our next town board meeting. And I believe that is February 5th, 2025.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion to set a public hearing date for this new local law of February 5th, 2025. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So carried. The next thing on the agenda is our annual justice audit. So that is something that we do every year. Each town justice, we appoint 2 members of the town board to go in and audit their records, and it's done annually, and everybody has had their turn so far with the exception of 2, I believe, and I would like to appoint Joe Hoppenstead, councilman, which is not just because he's not here, but because he is on the list, and Councilman O'Flaherty. And you can get together with me, and I will let you know what the process is. And the court clerks work very, very well, and it's a pretty simple process.
They have everything pretty well laid out.
And also, you got to talk to the bookkeeper for the balance of the money.
Yes. So it's pretty simple. What we'll do is you'll get a sheet, and I'll speak with Mr. Hoppenstead also. You'll get a sheet, and basically it's a checklist of things that we're required to do. Mm-hmm. And in anticipation, you usually stop in, talk to the clerks. The clerks will have everything set up and ready to go, and it's pretty straightforward. I believe the date that it has to be completed by is the beginning of March, and if I'm not mistaken, it's towards the end of the second week of March. I just don't know what those dates are, but I'll have that for you as well. Okay, is there any questions or concerns by the board at this time before I go into executive session?
No.
Okay, so I will make a motion that we go into executive session to discuss personnel matters at 8:08 p.m.
I will second that.
I have a motion on the floor with a second to go into executive session for personnel matters. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? So carried. All right.
Dean, while you're doing that, should I take the stuff here?
Yeah, here, let me...